I didn't shave this, so I hope you guys don't mind. But it's going to come off. Don't worry. Alright guys, what's up? You're tuning in to Nikki MGTV for another military video. Leave a comment down below, and if you guys have a question, I may be featured in a future Nikki MGTV episode. So, stay tuned. Now, one of the questions I got from a subscriber is asking if it would be worth it to be active duty or more worth it to be reservist. So I figured, why not just cover the three options you have when you're joining the military. First one, active duty. The second one is full-time support, and the third is reserve. I'm going to say full-time support for the last because it is like the red-headed stepchild of the service, in my opinion, not common. The first option you guys have is balls to the walls, active duty. You will do your 20 years, get your pension if you get in before the end of this year. So you guys might want to get in fast. You'll go to boot camp, you'll go to A school, you go to the ship or wherever you're going to be stationed at. You just start working and you continue, and you'll move a couple times, probably 5 to 8 times at least within your 20 years. You do that and you'll be set. However, the issue with this is you're going to deploy, and I want to remind you guys, it is not a matter of time of if you deploy, but rather when. So I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of that, because believe it or not, there's a lot of people out there that don't understand. They join the Navy to go on a ship. That's the first thing people think of when going in the Navy, is being on a ship. Unless you're a job like a CB or a corpsman or some other jobs that aren't sea-going rates, just imagine you're going to go out to sea. Just get that in your brain. The other thing is you can't do a lot of school and things like that. Me personally, I recommend active duty to everybody, and I say that because you do your 4 years, 5-year contract, or even sometimes 6. You get that experience, you get the schooling, and then you get to get out and actually utilize those skills that you got from the military. The other thing that you guys are going to be able to do if you're in is you're going to be able to do a lot more networking. A major benefit of being active duty, because you're going to know people that have gotten out, you're going to know people that have retired and they now are managers somewhere, or they work with the government and they can help you out. And I do want to also say that being in the military, it's a lifestyle. So I knew a lot of people that went reserves that were wishing that they had went active duty, because you go to boot camp, you go to A school, and then within a couple months you're right back home and you're making a couple $100 to go on the weekend. There's a lifestyle to it, and there's this camaraderie that you build, and there's these experiences that you're going to have that are only experience on active duty. The reason why I would recommend the reserves to people, to give you some background, you're going to do 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in a year. That's a great selling point, because a lot of people are going to think that you can just have another job, you can go to school, and then you just work those 2 days on the weekend or whatever, and you're good to go. However, you don't just do 2 days. There's a lot more that goes into it. Actually, JT Suits made a video on this, because he was in the active reserve at one point, but realized how much time and effort it took. It wasn't just 2 days out of the month. You were doing other stuff in between that, calling people and making sure stuff was getting done behind the scenes. And the reason why it's more work is because you still have to be evaluated in your reserve unit to then advance within those ranks. So people are still competing on top of their regular job. You have to still run a fitness test, and you have to maintain that yourself. You are trying to balance pretty much a part-time job with your full-time job. The benefits are the same, as far as you get to go to the commissary, you get to get base access, you get to do all that. But you get, like, in my opinion, the worst parts of the military. It's more of an inconvenience from people that I've talked to. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'll give you my stipulations as to why. If you're looking to go to school and you just want to work in the reserves but also be in school, this is a perfect option for you. Pretty much the main factor of being reserve is that you guys will have to be inconvenienced, and that's why I think doing active duty, getting your time done, getting the experience will be better off. They do offer some flexible drilling. You'll have to look into that specifically per your reserve unit. That's not guaranteed, but if not, then you have to do that weekend. So a lot of times when you're wishing that you could just hang out that weekend and you worked all week. You're now working not only your Monday to Friday job, but then you're also working the Saturday, Sunday, and then the next Monday to Friday for your other job. When I was deployed, I actually worked with a lot of reservists, and the benefits that they had were that the reservists were able to be more flex with where they were going, or they understood where they were going more than the active duty. When you're active duty, a lot of times you'll be on a rotation of deployment, or you will know a certain schedule when you're deploying and things like that, whereas reserves, you are more so pulled to go do certain things. The benefit of that is on the ship I was on, there were a lot of people that had that deployment already lined up, but before they even got back from that deployment, they were already assigned to another deployment to like Afghanistan or something. A lot of you guys are going to think, why do you want to deploy? But it's because there's a lot of good money, tax-free, things like that. The last one that's beneficial of being reserve is that you can actually be activated. With being activated, I had a couple friends that were in Germany for 2 years, and they just lived and worked in Germany for 2 years. That's something that I wasn't aware of, but when I heard about it, I was like, I wish I could have orders to Germany. I mean, Spain was nice too. The retirements for the reserves are different, and that's because whereas active duty, we go by years and you knock it out. If you are a reservist, you gather points towards retirement. So your drill weekends and your 2 weeks a year can make up points for that. I know someone in the comments is going to ask, what if you were prior active duty, then you go to reserve? Yes, you can cross over. It's easy going from active duty, one enlistment, to reserve. You can do that. A lot of my friends that did that got out because it wasn't the same as they expected. It's not the same, even though they're both Navy or they're both Army or whatever reserve, it's still different. It doesn't operate the same exact way. So it's a different culture. The likelihood of you guys being able to go from reserve to active duty is much harder, and I knew someone that did it, but it took them, I think, over a year to finally be able to do that. You can't just flip-flop between Navy reserve and active duty. So that's why I'm trying to get you guys understanding that you guys should probably make a decision before you join. That way you can be in the right side that you want to be on. You guys are going to be able to probably find a better skill set if you stay active duty. And I say that because if you're only doing 1 week in a month and 2 weeks out of the year, how likely are you going to have that marketable skill or job that you can go do something else? Also, the issue is finding an employer that will deal with your possibility of deploying and having to keep your position and things like that. Yes, there are laws, but I knew my dad is an entrepreneur and he had son that was a reservist, and it was always difficult, and it's just tough on you, and it's also tough on your employer. The last thing that I wanted to cover was full-time support. Most people don't know that this is an option, but these are people that are in the field of maintaining and training reservists. So they are on a active duty status in that sense, that they're active and they are on the year plan versus the points for the active reservists. Full-time support are there for that purpose. The benefit of being full-time support is that you will usually stay in one location much longer. I know one person that is full-time support that I've known for several years now. She has been in Texas the entire time and hasn't had any issues. The other thing is, a lot of times you're going to be stationed at what are called NOS, which are Navy reserve sites. There are bases that you will then facilitate all of the reservists. It's not as deployable from my experiences of the couple full-time support people I've been with, but it is another component if you're considering it. I think personally the deployments are something that are beneficial because they give you life experience, some insight, you get cultured, you get to travel. I mean, and if you go boots on ground, you get to go be a bad, I don't know, you just get to go, like, whenever I think of joining the military, you guys should be wanting to go do military things. Like, keep that in your head, like, you will deploy at some point if you're in the military. So this is just me trying to be transparent with you guys and make sure you guys have all the facts and knowledge before you guys are in the service. If you guys have any other questions about reservists or full-time support or the active duty component, make sure you leave a comment down below. And if you have any other questions as well, it may be featured in a future video on Nicky MG TV. As always, I hope you guys like this video. Throw a thumbs up on it. And if you guys want to see more of this, make sure you comment and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Love you guys.